Hello, everyone. This is Professor DePaulo. Welcome you back to Psych 265, Research and Psychology. And today I'm going to be talking about how to write the method section of the APA manuscript. So this is a really easy section to write. It's going to be much easier than the introduction, which can be challenging, as you probably know. If you've submitted it already, it's pretty challenging to come up with research studies and analyze them and break them down. The method section is pretty basic. It should take 10 minutes to write. Our method section, because we're using a survey and there's really not much of the methodology. Now, if you have a complex experiment where you're manipulating multiple variables and there's, you know, debriefing involved and deception involved and all that stuff, then your method section is going to be long. So if you're running a factorial experiment or a complex experiment or multiple experiments, you're going to have a lot longer method section. But here we're running one survey, and that survey is looking at gambling attitudes, gambling behaviors, and the psychological variables that are correlated to those gambling attitudes and behaviors. So there's a pretty basic method section here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the word method, 12-point font, either in Times New Roman or Arial. And you're going to basically center it. Let me put it in, I'll put it in Arial. And let's center it like that. There's your method, and the rest of it's going to be left justified. You're going to have a participants section. And this is going to be in italics. And right underneath it, you're going to write your participants in regular text, 12-point font, right? And so who was in the study? 1 to 2 sentences describing the number of participants, numbers of males, females, non-binary, ethnicities, age ranges, and where they were recruited from. So based on the survey that people took a good couple of weeks to complete, or most people for that matter, I'm going to give you the demographic data. So overall, we have 18 participants. I'm going to write this out in complete sentences. So I'm writing it, sort of just writing it words out here. You're going to write this out in complete sentences. So don't just copy exactly what I'm writing, obviously. 18 participants. Of those 18 participants, we had 13 females, 5 male. There were no non-binary reporting. And then based on the ethnicity, we had 1 white, 7 Hispanic Latino. These are all the people that completed the survey, which hopefully is the 2 sections of the course so far. 6 Asian. And 4 African American. Those were the ethnicities. And then the age range. The age range was pretty large. The age range was between 19 and 39. At least that's what was reported. 19 to 39. 18 participants. I spell that right. So all this stuff goes into your participant subsection. So you just write participants. Underneath it, you're going to write complete sentences. So 2 to 3 complete sentences here. And they were recruited from a undergraduate research and psychology course. at BMCC, Borough of Manhattan Community College. At Borough of Manhattan. You don't want to say BMCC because people are reading your manuscript outside of this, the New York City area or outside of BMCC, they're not going to know what BMCC is. So you have to write it all out. Sometimes I like to also add that it's part of CUNY because some people may understand what CUNY is, but they don't know the individual colleges within CUNY. It really depends. But if you just say BMCC, no one's going to know what that is outside of New York. And you hope that people outside of New York City are reading your manuscripts that you're publishing, or you're going to conferences that, they're paying attention to what you're doing. So that's the participant subsection, right? Then you're going to do materials. You'll leave a space, right? This is going to be in italics also. 12-point font. And underneath it, we're going to start with non-italics, right? We're going to start with materials. So what were the materials? You're going to talk about the research survey here. 1 to 2 sentences describing the materials used in the study. So you're going to talk about the survey. And what it's measuring, right? So it's measuring gambling attitudes and behavior. What else was it measuring? Empathy, anxiety, depression, attachment style, and there's other variables too. I'm just listing some of them, right? What else was it measuring? Life satisfaction, impulsiveness, right? Things in the 5 hypotheses, right? And you're just going to say it was completed. And then your procedure section is going to be pretty basic, as you can see here. What happened during the study? So the survey was completed online. It took probably about 45 minutes. And you're pretty much done, right? So you want to put procedure in italics. So I've quasi wrote the section a bit to help you out here. You want to put this in full sentences under participants. Materials, something similar to this. Procedure, something similar to this, right? So materials is what we're using. We're using a survey and the variables are measured. Now, if I were publishing this, I would talk about all the individual scales that I'm using, and I would give reliabilities and validities for those scales. But since we're not publishing this right now, we're not going to do that, right? But I would do that if I was publishing. I'd give a lot more information about the different measures. And then the procedure is just simply that the survey was completed online and how long it took. If you want to put it was completed for course credit, you can do that too. It doesn't matter. It's very, very simple. There's not much going on other than completing the survey for the method, right? So write up the method. Should take you about 10 minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. But it should be pretty basic. Just make sure you get the formatting correct, the way I set it up here. And that's it. You'll submit it. You'll upload it. I'll give you feedback. Hopefully, it's very easy. You get 10 out of 10 on it. And we move on to more important parts. The next part's going to be the discussion. So that's going to be a lot harder to write. a lot more interesting to write. This is kind of very boring for the study we have, which is a survey. If we were running an experiment, we'd have a lot more to put in the method about how we're manipulating the independent variable, what we're doing. But we don't have that right now, so the method is very basic. Keep it basic, and that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. Reach out to me, email, office hours, whatever, and I'll see you back online for the next part. Bye for now.